Hello and welcome to the 23rd Annual Garden State Film Festival. My name is Emily DeSimone, and here with me today I have Daniel Myers and Brian May with the audio film The Last Collector, A Fading Kingdom Story. Daniel, Brian, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having us, Emily. Good to see you.
Great to see you. So guys, please tell our live viewers a bit about your audio film.
So I'll take the reins here, Dan. So Fading Kingdoms came about, it's an audio series, came about during COVID. Dan and I are film collaborators. We've worked on a ton of stuff together. And obviously during COVID, we couldn't get together to make projects. So Dan had the idea of doing like a radio play, an audio series, something we can do remotely. Was a fantastic idea. And he had this idea for an epic called Fading Kingdoms. So during COVID, Dan wrote a trilogy of stories, which exist now. And they're all audio stories. There's 3 of them. They're on Spotify and Apple Music and such. So that's the original trilogy of Fading Kingdoms. We've been to Garden State Film Festival a couple times with the audio series now. But last year, we were thinking about doing another story. And we had previously done a short story for Fading Kingdoms. And we wanted to continue to move in that direction of shorter installments to expand the world, expand the lore, expand the characters, etc. So I believe this was last spring, Dan. You can correct me if I'm wrong. We were brainstorming an idea. Yeah. We thought of an idea together. And I ended up taking the reins and writing this story. We ended up casting it and putting it together in a couple months, and that's The Last Collector.
That's awesome. Daniel.
How did I do, Dan? How did I do?
I'm not going to lie. Usually I'm running point on these, and I kind of like sitting back and doing nothing. And that's kind of was my position on this audio story. And so the long and short of it, Brian, I can't encapsulate what he just did. He said it perfectly. So I just recently had a child about 2 years ago, and we did a ton in the year leading up to my son's birth. And myself as a writer, director, producer on mostly, like, I think 3 projects in 1 calendar year. We did 2 short films and a part 3 of an audio story, maybe even Duran's Demerit in there, Brian, I don't remember. And I was feeling really burnt out. And then also with the baby on the way. So I trust Brian enough. Like you said, we've been doing this for a long time. And I said, Brian, do something. You know this world. Mm-hmm. My long-term goal with Fading Kingdoms is for it to be an existing IP for the foreseeable future. And we've been lucky enough to have some meetings with some big companies about it. And hopefully if we keep continue to throw great episodes out there, continuing to expand the world, people are really going to start connecting with it. But with Brian, it was like, I'm tied up with being in the throes of early fatherhood, and I will help produce it and help you create the story, but otherwise take it and run. And I'll ping it back to Brian. He found a wonderful opportunity through an acting studio he works with to band together a wonderful cast of actors to help out. So I don't know if you want to talk about that.
I do. I would love to talk about it. I said, Dan, look, I'll do this story. If I can write, direct, cast the whole thing, I'll do all the post-production work, and I'll give you a finished product, and you just sign off on it. And he said, okay, done. You can do it.
Yeah.
So in all seriousness, no, it was great creative freedom. Dan and I, like he said, have been working on a ton of projects together. So every now and again, he would check in to make sure I wasn't completely off the rails. But for the most part, it was all trust. Dan was mentioning the acting studio. I take acting classes. I've been training there for a while now. ATC Studios in Clifton, New Jersey. Mm-hmm. And I was just thinking, man, I'd love the opportunity to work with like everybody in this class. You kind of move up in classes together with people. And I thought this is a perfect format to do it. Much like with Dan's thought during COVID, it's like you can do it remotely, you can do it slowly, you can take your time with it. So I started writing this story with all of these cast members in mind. And once I had it written, I mean, the process was actually it was done fairly quickly. Like we came up with the idea in April, or thereabouts. I kind of wrote it April to May. I presented it to my fellow actors in May. We recorded it in June, really, and then kind of two months of post production, and it was done by late August. So it was a fairly truncated process, and because Dan gave me 95% total creative control. It was a ton of fun being able to work with all the people in my circle and make something that we ended up both being, I think, pretty happy with.
Yeah, and just to kind of jump on top of what Brian was just saying about the creative control and him having the freedom, and excuse me if I literally just said this, I want this project to have other voices. I do feel like I gave it my all in terms of, the first 3 chapters, which are feature length. It's essentially a trilogy, and I do plan on writing more myself in the future. But realistically, I want other voices to kind of come in and take their shot at the IP, because it really is an interesting and fun sandbox to play in. Especially for people like us who don't have the means to, grab the best crew and cast on the planet and sponsored by Amazon and whatnot to go shoot it. So we have to kind of work within our means. And I get excited about the idea of other people taking their swings at it, bringing their own life stories and ideas and kind of using the Fading Kingdoms paintbrush to hopefully tell more great stories. So writers, if you're watching this, hit me up.
You'll get 70% creative control, maybe not 95 like I got.
Yeah,
just
you gotta earn
forewarning. Yeah,
you gotta earn the 50-50. But I guess the last thing I want to say, and then I do want Brian to talk more about the story and the actors and how great they did and all that stuff, is Fading Kingdoms was a part of the Garden State Film Festival starting in, I think, 2022 or 2021. I forget, but I know a long time ago, Lauren and Diane, they did do some sort of a podcast audio thing, but that kind of died off. And Fading Kingdoms, I'm proud to say, kind of reinvigorated it. And I presented them with an idea called Cinema for the Years. And Lauren's very passionate, and Diane, they're very passionate about providing entertainment for the visually impaired. And I said, here, have the Fading Kingdoms saga. It's just living out there in the world now. Take it. And they've used it every year. And hopefully starting next year, I'll become a bigger part of the Cinema for the Years team and have some fun things in store for the future iterations at the festival.
So get used to seeing us, Emily, okay?
Yes. No, so I mean, you guys have, I've interviewed you before and I've seen some of your visual works. I would love to know how the process is different between, a visual work, like, for example, one of your past submissions, Glass Eyes, and then doing the Cinema for the Ears.
Well, like Dan said, the sandbox, so to speak, for Fading Kingdoms is wide open. Whenever we do a short film or a film project, we really have to think about how we're going to film it. Like Dan was talking about means, we only have so many resources, and we like to use those. We like to push those to as far as we possibly can. But with an audio story, you can create the beach, you can create the mountains, you can create a sword fight. So it's really totally blank canvas. There's really nothing off limits unless Dan says no. So the options are wide open, and especially for The Last Collector, it was like I was interested in taking. We came up with this idea of doing sort of like a chase, a ticking clock idea where somebody was pursuing somebody else. um, a side of the world that you maybe didn't get to see in the trilogy. So we came up with this ticking clock idea and the things that this character might or might not see during his journey. So we bounce around ideas. The process for this was really we toss around ideas. We come up with an outline. Um, for this one, I started writing, as quickly as I could. I throw it to Dan. He says yes, no, maybe so. No, but he's really, I'm joking, but he's obviously really open and likes to ask questions, and we pursue things and we really talk about everything fully. We incorporate characters from the original trilogy that Dan wrote. And it was different for this one because I could write with my friends in mind. So I sort of had all these cast of characters in mind, and I was very interested, like I said, in taking a mythological approach to the story, but also telling a story within a story. When people hopefully listen to the story, they'll see there's a couple characters relaying information, and I thought that's always a fun structure for a film or an audio story because there's some unreliable things happening. People see things differently. And again, it just opened up options for creativity and mystery and fun.
And there's a Garden State Film Festival legend who's in the cast, Ming Chen.
Yes.
Plays, excuse me, he plays a character who might be showing up again in the near future.
Yeah.
So that was fun, and we're grateful Ming was a part of the episode. Yeah, but what's cool is for Brian and I in our collaboration, Fading Kingdoms is always there, and we can always like we keep saying, play in that sandbox, and it's really, I'm really grateful for it as a creative who also runs a business outside of entertainment, has a young family, to where putting together the cast and crew for a short film and locations and all the heavy lifting that's required for production and pre-production, making live action shorts or features, it's a lot of work. And Fading Kingdoms, not that it's not a lot of work, it's a lot of work more so in the storytelling process, but the actual post-production, the production aspects of it are pretty, I think it's a lot to do with the fact that we've been doing it for so long, but it's pretty seamless. When you have someone like Brian in the post-production phase handling mostly everything, it's been really quite seamless and fun to do. And that being said, we are filmmakers and we're jumping into a new short we're filming this June. We're really excited about. And yeah, so but Fading Kingdoms is always there, and we always get to keep making them, and I'm really grateful for it.
Well, you guys, I mean, as we wrap up, because I feel like I could keep you here for an entire hour.
You
but
could.
I know you've got a napping child that may not last that long. I would love to know, what is it you wish your audience to take away from Fading Kingdoms, this submission this year?
Take away? A sense of adventure.
That's a good one.
A sense of adventure. I feel like, no, just like there's a lot of A to B, back to A. And I think this story, at least writing it and putting it together, I think the fun here for me was just a little sense of mystery, a little sense of adventure, and a little creative outlet. Just a little bit of fun, a little bit of creative fun.
Nice.
I would like people to, what I would like for them to take away from it is it's okay to try new things, and more specifically to speaking to our current predicament, at least in the film and TV world, where it's just a constant retreading and mining of the same IPs over and over and over again. It's okay to try new things, give other original stories a chance, a real chance to develop and thrive and grow with the audience. And I mean, there's only so many times you can retread the same things within the 5 or 6 major sci-fi fantasy IPs. And I think as an audience, we're at a crossroads where collectively we are kind of sick of it and getting bored of it. Give those big ones a break and start trying new things, and giving aspiring young filmmakers and writers a chance to kind of tell their story. Because let's not forget, I mean, as Fading Kingdoms is heavily influenced by the great works of Frank Herbert and Tolkien and George Lucas and all these guys, you know, Star Wars started from his love for Herbert and Dune and so forth back through the histories, you know. And you know, if we want new stuff as an audience, I would like the audience to try to have, you know, a little bit more of you know, interest in trying new things and listening to new things, so we don't just keep getting the same thing over and over again.
Awesome. Well, I feel like I could keep going with you guys, but I do have to unfortunately wrap things up. Thank you so much for joining me today, everyone. The Last Collector of Fading Kingdom story will be, I want to say screening, will be audio playing at the Kingsley Ballroom.
I think it's playing on a screen with some I don't know, photos from our artists on the project.
Gotcha. Okay. It will be screening at the Kingsley Ballroom on Saturday, March 29th at 9:45 a.m. Again, thank you so much for joining me. I can't wait to see you guys there.
Yeah.
Awesome.
See you there.
All righty. Bye, guys.
See ya.
Bye.